WDCE, shining sun. Top 3 in the radio race. Sam Newsman takes first place. Sam Newsman, oh, be there. Feel the groove everywhere. College spirit makes us proud. Richard voices sing out loud. Corporate giants shake with fear. Sam's beats ring far and near. Students cheer and spread the word. Sam's the one you must have heard. From the campus to the town, no one brings the station down. Independent all the way. Sam Newsman forever stay. Sam Newsman won't be there. Feel the groove everywhere. College spirit makes us proud. Richard voices sing out loud.
You could accept the fact that the city is headed for a disaster of biblical proportions. It was claiming this Old Testament there, real wrath of God type stuff. Fire and brimstone coming down from the sky, rivers and seas boiling. 40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes, dead rising from the grave, human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together. That's hysteria.
Well, listen, I hope that we did get the interwebs all working correctly. What did you say you used? You used what you call it a hotspot. Okay, so because the hamsters, so just real quickly, ladies and gentlemen, so there are hamsters that are on wheels that are powering the station at the moment. Okay, well, so what about the cockroaches? What do you mean they're taking a smoke break? The cockroaches are taking a smoke break? Well, you need to tell them to get back to work. Listen, things are not even, like I was saying just a few moments ago, if things aren't going that great, we're going to have to pull out the styrofoam cups and the piece of string. And then what's going to happen? Well, listen, keep the hamsters on the wheel and go tell the cockroaches that the smoke break is over. Anyways, setting the standard and raising the bar, broadcasting live here at the beautiful sunny campus at the University of Richmond. You're listening to WDCE 90.1 FM from the most trusted puppet in media, reporting since Roswell. I'm Sam Newsman, and this is SideShow Infotainment. I want to thank everyone, of course, for joining into the show here on this 19th day of July in the year 2025. We are broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. That is Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. And that's at Sam Newsman. And all those are being mirrored over on the channels for Exertus. So tip of the cap to Andreas and the whole Exertus crew and clan, and them being able, us to be able to, like I said, mirror our show. Well, then we have a couple of people already coming into the chat. Shout out to Mary Murr, first as usual, Crazy Toys as well. MC DJ ACDC. I also see Zachary down in the chat as well. So shout out to all of you. You can always join into the chat. And if I see your comment, if it catches my attention, I'll definitely give you a shout out and make sure that I do mention that as well. One of the things I do need to mention, now that I think about it, is the hashtag Sam the Votathon. That's right, the hashtag Sam the Votathon. We're doing that every single Sunday through Thursday over the next 2 weeks. So Sunday, tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Eastern time. 10 o'clock Eastern time every single day, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Over the next 2 weeks, we're going to be doing that, and that'll be at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Also on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. And you're asking why the Sam the Vote-a-thon. Well, it is because we are in the midst now of hashtag Sam the Vote. If you're familiar with this, over the last couple of years, we've been in the top 5 for the best local morning radio show here in Richmond, Virginia, brought to you by the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Now, 2 years ago, we were able to get 3rd place, and of course, people just brushed it off. They thought it was a fluke. And then last year, we got 2nd place, knocking off a syndicated radio show that has been here in the area for over 20 plus years. And now that particular radio show this year didn't even make the top 5. And now here we are with this year. Over the last few years, our buddy, our friend, John Reed, who was the morning radio show host at WRVA, is no longer a radio show host at WRVA. In fact, what he's doing is he's running for lieutenant governor. So what that means, ladies and gentlemen, is that the person who has won over the last several years 1st place is no longer there. And now this gives us the inside lane to possibly win the best local morning radio show. And guess what? You, that's right, you watching around, you watching this video, have the chance to be a part of broadcast history, to actually participate in what could be broadcast history. That's with me, my little old puppet self, and this small little tiny radio signal beating all of the corporate radio shows here locally in the middle of the state of Virginia. So you're probably asking, well, Sam, how do I do that? Well, it's very simple. What you need to do is do we have the little, there we go. We have the banner going up now. You're going to text the number 127. That's right. Text 127 to 804-430-5505. That's the number 127 to 804-430-5505. You're going to want to do that every single day between now and August the 3rd. The reason why I say that is because you can text every single day, not just on your cell phone, but on every cell phone that's in your house. So your kids' cell phones, your significant other's cell phones, grab every cell phone that you can see, that you have access to, and then text that number 127 to 804-430-5505. Now, when you go to work, go and take all of your, go to all your coworkers and say, hey, let me see your phone real quick. And then grab their phone and then text 127 on their phone. And then tell them, hey, listen, if you want to be a part of broadcast history, you know what you need to do? You need to text that number 127 to this phone number every single day. One of the things you could do is you could set a calendar reminder. Set a calendar reminder to make sure that you do that every single day. And once again, like I said, you could be a part of broadcast history with that vote. It'd be very interesting when all of a sudden we do get the plaque, and that plaque says, champion, final. It doesn't say finalist. It would say winner, I guess. But what you could do is when you see that plaque, you could sit there and say, hey, listen, I have a little piece of that. I own a little piece of that because I was there. I was there when I voted for Sam for the best local morning radio show. And then, like I said, you could have a piece. You could be a part, if you will, of broadcast history. So if you do get a chance, make sure you do text that number 127 to 804-430-5505 every day from now until August the 3rd. And like I said, we will be doing the hashtag Sam the Vote-a-thon, or the Sam the Vote-a-thon, starting again tomorrow, Sunday night at 10 p.m. Eastern time, to make sure that we get more votes during that show. And make sure you tell all of your friends, tell your family, because like I said, you can be a part of broadcast history. Now, speaking of the Richmond Times-Dispatch, I do have today's paper over here. Let's see, let's pull that up. And there it is. This is a real newspaper, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. They still make these things. I'm not sure exactly how long they will make these things, but they're still in existence, and it's called a newspaper. Are you familiar with a newspaper? Have you ever heard of a newspaper? Well, there it is. Hold on. Let's grab that one more time and just let them see it. It is a real thing, ladies and gentlemen. It's an actual newspaper, and this is the Richmond Times-Dispatch. This is the newspaper of record here in Central Virginia, and one of the great things that I'm seeing here right now is more information about this this governor's race. So are you familiar with the governor's race? Well, currently the governor is Glenn Youngkin, old Grift Youngkin, if you will. So who, if you recall, told John Reed to leave the race. Now, this is a guy who, Glenn Youngkin, the governor of Virginia, who was on John Reed's show quite a bit when John was a radio show host. And then when John decided to run for office, Glenn Youngkin said, "Oh, well, you know what, John, I think you need to drop out because you're gay." I'm serious. That's the truth. He said, there's this homophobe kind of underlying theme here that seems to be happening. And what it did was it split the entire Republican GOP of the state of Virginia in half. So you have a bunch of people that sits there and says that, "Oh, I'm not going to vote for a gay man for lieutenant governor." And then you have other people sitting there saying, "Listen, he's the only one on the ticket that seems to make sense." Why do I say that? Because the other two candidates, well, I will say the attorney general does seem to have the most money. So I guess you can't really consider him a clown. But the other day I even heard on radio where somebody called the Winsome Sears campaign a clown show or a clown car because her chief of staff, who was some pastor that had no political experience, was basically poisoning the well. Poisoning the well how? Well, because her campaign has been trash up until this point. But you're going to get the Republicans that are going to say, "Oh, well, listen, you know what? Everything is just fine and dandy." But it seems like it's a lot worse than they're trying to give it credit for. The reason why she got rid of her chief of staff is because currently right now it says that she's down about 12 points to Abigail Spanberger. Oh, CIA Abby is what we call her. Well, she was a CIA operative, right? So, and she's not Jewish, by the way, even though she has Spanberger as a last name. So I'm not sure what that's all about, but she is a CIA asset, old CIA Abby, if you will. But she's up 12 points ahead of Winsome Sears. And so, of course, what did? They freaked out. They were like, "Well, hold on, we need to change this right now. We need to make sure that we get things in order." And well, we'll see exactly if that's going to be the case. Let's see here. I do have this. Let's see. Is it right here? Aha! There we go. Just making sure I have all of this up and running. Oh, so there's that picture again of that cringe picture. Because what's happening is that we have Winsome Sears going all over the state, but she's not showing up with John. I don't know if she's showing up with Jason or not, but they finally all got together a while back and they had this photo op where the Republican Party is united. We're all united. But if you look at the photo, it's just nothing but cringe fest city. But anyway, so what does this say here? Election 2025, governor not too late for Earl Sears. Campaign not a clown car, the GOP chair says. Back from addressing Iowa Republicans who were eager to hear how he won office in a state that's been leaning Democratic. Governor Glenn Youngkin says it's not too late for Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears to be elected the next governor of Virginia. Now, she used to just be called Winsome Sears when she was in the State House. And then when she all of a sudden decided to become, I guess, governor, she became Winsome Earl Sears. So that's that whole that was my last name before I got married kind of deal. That whole pride thing with the hyphen. I see this all the time. Women are like, hey, you know what? I got to make sure that I get my maiden name in there as well. I don't want to just be associated with my new marriage government name for all of my benefits and discounts for being married. So I had another name prior to my last name that I took, and I allowed the courthouse to get all up in my bedroom, which is you can get married and not have to sit there and go to the courthouse. You can walk down the aisle, you can do your brouhaha to the Lord or whatever, but then what happens is people go to the courthouse and they solidify it, so they allow the government to be a part of their bedroom. Yeah. So, but I'm here to tell you right now, the government has no place in your bedroom. They don't. And so there's a reason why marriage is a tanking. Both men and women are sick and tired of marriage. Why? Because the only winner that ends up winning is the government. The government ends up winning. It's, oh my gosh. Anyways, let's see here. Do we have... All right, let's see here. Okay, back from addressing Iowa, blah, 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 blah. Now it's time. I just remind everybody that in the summer of 2021, I was down all summer, Youngkin said Friday morning on WRVA's Richmond's Morning News with Rich Herrera. Now, I know old Uncle Rich. Rich is such a great guy. So you'll eventually, I don't want to spoil anything, but shout out, tip of the cap to Rich. Rich is the one who took over for John. For that morning radio show. But on a different radio show on Friday, State Senator Mark Peake of Lynchburg, who's the chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia, fired back when conservative radio show host John Fredericks called the Earl Sears campaign a clown car. He said, "It's not a clown car, and I think we are fixing it as we speak," Peake told Fredericks, who led President Donald Trump's Virginia campaign in both 2016 and 2020. Well, we see how that ended up. I don't think that Republicans haven't won the White House here in Virginia because Hillary won, right? Hillary won the state of Virginia that year, and Biden won the state in 2020. Then when was the last time a Republican won the state of Virginia? Not that it really matters. It really doesn't matter because here's the reality. They're probably not ever going to win again. Well, because Virginia now is, what is it, New York South? It's New York South and California East. Not yeast, East. Maybe it is yeast. I don't know. It's like an infection. But here we go. Earl Sears trails Democratic nominee CIA Abby, according to polls with the VCU Water School survey this week. With a lead of 49% to 37% among registered voters. Like I said, that is 12%. This week's campaign finance report shows that Spamberger's campaign, with a $15.2 million in cash on hand at the end of June, compared with Earl Sears's only $4.5 million. Earl Sears this week dropped her campaign manager, Northern Virginia pastor Will Archer, who I'm sure that he was probably like, oh, well, listen, we got to make sure we're never on stage with John the gay guy, right? Because that's really that was it. They tried to sit there and say, man, this whole thing was a total clown show. And here we go. We have John, who's actually, I love old Uncle John. Uncle John is great. I've interviewed John multiple times, so I stand with John Reed. But I'm telling you right now, it seems like the Republican Party doesn't want to at all, and he's the only one going all crisscrossing the state every single day. And of course, he's doing that because Governor Wilder told him, he said, listen, if you really want to win the heart of the voters, you need to go from coast to coast when it comes to the state. You need to be in Virginia Beach, Northern Virginia, over in Bristol, here in Richmond, down in the South. You need to go every single place that you possibly can, John, if you want to win this state. Because if you remember, Wilder wasn't supposed to win either. But he ended up winning the governorship years ago, and he told John that's what he needs to do. So tip of the cap to old John Reed, who's actually doing what a politician should be doing. And that's going all over the state. So that's a good thing. So Youngkin said that in 2021, his push to get out the vote included wooing Hispanic and black voters who had not tended to favor Republicans. And that's what brought on his victory. Youngkin said he'll be doing the same thing this year when asked if he'll be campaigning with Earl Sears. But here's the question, though, old grifter Youngkin, Youngkin the grifter. Are you going to be campaigning with John Reed? Or is he still too toxic because you already showed your true colors that you're a homophobe? You know, that's what I want to know. Is Earl Sears going to get back on the stage with John Reed or not? Or are we just going to have this one picture of them all together and it looks totally cringe-tastic? I would show it to you, but you know what? I don't want to break the camera screen. You know, we're already having trouble with all of the hamsters and everybody else sitting the hamsters. And did the cockroaches come back from the smoke break? I want to know if the cockroaches came back from the smoke break. I need to know. Because that's important. Well, listen, I know that the cockroaches enjoy their cigarettes. Hell, at this point, I need to have a cigarette, it seems. So here's Youngkin saying that he's fully engaged. And I think it's really important that we all are engaged, except for when John Reed's running. And this means campaigning. This means making phone calls. It means knocking on doors, except with John Reed. This means registering people to vote and getting people to vote early or absentee ballot, except for John Reed. If you're not going to be here, make a plan to vote early. What we found in 2021 is when we turned out everybody, we had a record turnout. We won. And that's what we've got to do again. Oh, that's right. Except for John Reed, right? Right? Because, you know, he has less money than everybody. The GOP, the Virginia GOP is not helping his campaign at all. And like I said, it's going to be a blue wave. However, even now it's interesting because John Reed's opponent, Ghazala Hashmi, who is just absolute, you know what? She wants your daughters to compete against boys in school sports. She does, yeah. So that should tell you right there how much of a winner she really is. So, but I'm telling you, I really do think, I don't make predictions, but if I did have to place a bet, I will say that Abigail is going to crush Earl Sears, and John Reed is possibly going to split the ticket. As for Miyares, the Attorney General, I'm not too sure about that. Now, let's keep on going on here. It says Youngkin and Earl Sears. Youngkin said Earl Sears is a key player in his administration's efforts to boost the economy and support law enforcement. Now, I will give them credit there. You know, tip of the cap to what they've done with law enforcement over the last couple of years. That has been good. Shout out to all our boys in blue. Now, yeah, well, now you're going to get upset because I said our boys in blue. This kind of goes back to the whole Pete Hegseth thing. You know, our boys who are the fighter pilots, but then there was a female fighter pilot, and then the news media is like, well, hold on, what about the girl? Our boys in blue, our people, our persons in blue. How about that? Oh yeah. Speaking of persons, that Ghazala Hashmi, yeah, she calls them birthing persons, not mothers. So once again, you know, she wants boys to compete with girls in high school sports, and birthing persons is the correct term, not birthing mother. What is this? Oh my God! Oh, you can't make this up. So, hey, look, Red Ford down there says the Pizza Hut 80s glasses. He said, I have a pair. So, yeah, so you notice the Pizza Hut glasses. So did the Pizza Hut glasses, did they fall down? Did they fall? Wait, where'd they go? I guess they're somewhere. But anyways, he mentioned the Pizza Hut glasses. What happened to the Pizza Hut glasses? Did the Pizza Hut Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. Anyways, shout out to the Pizza Hut glasses. But here we go. Back to what Youngkin was saying. She understands what we've been doing because she's been at my side the whole time. Arm in arm leading is what old Youngkin said. Now, Pink, the state GOP chairman, told Fredericks, I think what you're about to see based on what's happening this week is a change of strategy in the campaign, which is now going to be more obvious, more out in the open, more public, more events, and much more responsive to the media. Why? Well, because she's down 12 points and they had to fire her campaign manager. the old Pastor Goon, who probably was just messing things up the whole time, who had no political experience at all, by the way. So he added, what we had seen over the past couple of weeks was the team was not responding to media requests, to interview requests, and I think you're going to see a change of that now. She's going to take it to the public aspect of the campaign. Well, sometimes it's a little bit too late. You know, I have inside knowledge that there was one particular radio show where they ghosted the host. They ghosted the host multiple times, kicked the can down the road over and over and over again until they finally decided to show up. And then now you're going to sit there and say, oh, well, now I'm going to sit there and do some things because this poll from the VCU Governor Wilder School over there at VCU is saying that you're down 12 points and you don't have any cash. So listen, I know that you can probably turn on other shows, other radio shows, and they're going to just be like, oh, well, everything's campaign. We got to do this and things like that. I'm here to tell you right now. Well, I'm agreeing with Fredericks right now. It's a clown show. It's a clown car. But here's the thing, Fredericks, I was the one that was saying that before you ever did. So don't get it twisted. Just because Frederick says it, just know that I was the one that said it first. You could probably go back to some of our older episodes where I did call this out a while back. So Earl Sears has focused on small groups and black churches in her campaign, but now it's time to turn the campaign to getting Winsome out amongst the people all day, every day, in radio, TV, and I hope that's a change that they're going to make. Well, what do you mean TV? Because here's the reality of the situation. I've seen Winsome on TV, and you know where she's been? She's been on Fox News. And I'm telling you right now, just because you're on Fox News doesn't mean that's here in Virginia. You can go on Fox News all day long, but Fox News isn't the voting bloc of Virginia that you need to focus on. You need to focus on the actual voters of Virginia. But no, hey, but you know what? It's those politicians, I'm telling you right now, they get all nice and ugu gaga over the lights and the camera and the big studio sets, and they think, oh, well, guess what? I'm important now. Because I'm here, like on this big soundstage. I'm on this big soundstage at Fox News. Oh, isn't that fantastic? Where was all of this before? There's no wonder. There's a reason why you're down 12 points. Because it is a clown show. Maybe that's the reason why he called it a clown car, because he already knows that I called it a clown show. Frederick said Earl Sears' campaign has to change or she's going to get blown out. She is going to get blown out. Oh, CIAB's already going to win. Well, wait a minute. That's not a prediction now. That's just a fact. I mean, can we just say that? I mean, maybe I might be wrong. Maybe I'll come here the Saturday after the election. I could say, oh my gosh, I was so wrong. CIAB lost. This is terrible. But I'm telling you right now, the way how it stands is it looks like that there's going to be a blue wave. Hopefully not with John Reed, right? Because like I said, you know, they're all standing with John Reed, and John Reed's end up being the only one that ends up standing last. Both Peake and Frederick said Earl Sears is successful in wooing voters one-on-one and at events. What voters are doubting is her ability to run a statewide campaign, raise money, or be competitive. In response, old CIA Abby's campaign said she's focused on making the state more affordable, protecting jobs, and expanding the economy. While the Trump administration fires thousands of Virginians, threatens tens of thousands of Virginia's financial futures, and works to rip healthcare away from hundreds of thousands of Virginians, the lieutenant governor has cheered on the job cuts, the tariffs, and the Medicaid cuts, a campaign spokesman for CIA Abby said. That's not leadership, and that's not putting Virginia first. So now this comes with what's very interesting. Now I see this other article here, just right above this, and this goes into what they're talking about. Now, if you remember, Virginia last year was number one by this CNBC poll in terms of jobs. However, right now we have Virginia unemployment rate rises for the 6th straight month. Virginia unemployment rate rose in June for the 6th consecutive month as the state continues to feel the effects of cuts in federal employment and government contracts under President Donald Trump. The state unemployment rate rose by 0.1%, as it has every month this year, to 3.5%. The rate has risen 0.7% in 12 months, but remains below the national unemployment rate of 4.1. But it's 3.5. It's 3.5%, and the national unemployment rate is 4.1. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics said Friday that Virginia was the only state in the country in which unemployment rose by a statistically significant amount. Hold on. Statistically significant? Those are some big words. In fact, you know what? They have quotation marks. They have quotation marks around them. I can't even say the words. Statistically significant amount from May to June. But Virginia Secretary of Labor Brian Slater noted a table that showed 6 other states with increased rates. Well, you could sit there and talk about the other states all day long, but Virginia is the one leading the pack. Oh, because you know what? Virginia, what is the old key phrase? Virginia is a great place to get a job, raise a family, and or whatever their phrase was. Whatever they had some slogan to live, work, and raise a family. That's what they said. Yeah, Virginia is the place where we're gonna have to live, work, and raise a family. Well, you can't really raise a family if the unemployment rate's going up, right? No, you can't do that. So the Bureau spokesperson, Stacey Bradish, said the agency lists unemployment rates for all states. It attached tables, but she added, when discussing changes in unemployment rates in the text of the release, only states with statistically significant changes at the 90% confidence level are mentioned. And here we have old Glenn Youngkin relied on a different set of labor statistics on Friday. Oh, go figure. To show that while state employment declined in June, based on a household survey, it had been rising for a year in terms of full-time payroll employees, according to a business survey. The announced federal and contractor work reductions resulted in the month's decline of 8,400 people employed, while the full year saw growth of more than 35,000, Youngkin said. As I've said previously, we expect there will be federal job reductions and that the growth in non-federal jobs over the course of the year will provide opportunities those who have experienced job dislocations. You know, I love how they sit there and they use these words. Did you see this? So did you see this? This ridiculous. He's sitting there saying, "Oh, well, yeah, all the government jobs are going to go away, but there's going to be more private sector jobs for people to just move into." And they use the word job dislocation. How about you say the word job loss, Governor Glenn? Oh my gosh, what a grifter. The latest unemployment rate increase drew the attention of elected Democrats who have escalated their criticism of the Trump administration's cuts to federal workers and contracts they say are critical to the state's economy, as well as the Republican governor's support of those policies. Virginia's unemployment rate is clearly rising in a sustained way, and it is a certainty that this increase is being driven by the Trump administration's policies, says Representative Don Beyer of the 8th District, the ranking Democrat on the U.S. Congress Joint Economic Committee. He said that in a statement yesterday. Trump's mass firings and cuts are draining Virginia's economy while also hurting the services Virginians depend on. And many of those cuts are not even showing up in the data yet. So here we go. We have the facts, ladies and gentlemen, that Virginia is not doing that well. So, oh my gosh. Doge News protecting the chickens. What does it say? Hold on. What does it say? Let's see here. Hold on. We put that up on here. Oh, Skydrow Walker. Oh, shit, a tip of the cap to Skydrow Walker. Save 15% when you use the code Skydrow at extremesets.com. He says Doge News protecting the chickens from Fox News. So, well, I'm not really sure. I'm not the one watching Fox News. I mean faux news. I don't sit there and do that. You know, there was a while back when people used to sit there and think that I was some Republican hack puppet. You know, I don't even vote. You know, and far be it from me to vote. I said this the other day on the Sam the Vote-a-thon, which you can watch every Sunday through Thursday at 10 p.m. over on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. That's at Sam Newsman, and also on Exertus. That is the Sam the Vote-a-thon every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern time as we continue to drum up the votes, which I'll get to the votes here again in just a minute. I'm still going over this unemployment stuff. So let's see here. Let's get back to where we were. Okay. Representative Eugene Vindman, Democrat of the 7th District, slammed the Trump administration for its proposal to eliminate 45,000 civilian jobs in the Department of Defense as part of the National Defense Authorization Act that the Republican-controlled House of Representatives approved on Friday for the budget year that will begin on October the 1st. All 5 Democrats in Virginia's congressional delegation voted against the bill, and all 5 Republicans voted yes, with 1 seat vacant after the death of Representative Jerry Connolly, the Democrat in the 11th District. Across the 7th District in our Commonwealth, I meet hardworking families who are trying their best to make ends meet, said Vindman. But when the rubber-stamped Republicans in Washington and Virginia drag us down with their failed economic policies, we get 6 straight months of rising unemployment. Now you can't sit there and say that it's not. But then what's going to happen is you're going to have people that are going to look at you and say, "Oh, well, that's a skewed poll. Who's the ones funding that poll? Who are the people that?" Because that's all you ever get. Nobody ever wants to take credit for failing numbers, or responsibility, for that matter, for failing numbers. But here we go. Earlier this week, Virginia State Majority Leader Scott Servell, a Democrat from Fairfax, and Fairfax County Board of Supervisors Chairman Jeff McKay issued a joint statement decrying what they called an unemployment crisis in the country of more than 1.1 million people. They pointed to a 34.7% increase in unemployment in Fairfax in May from a year earlier, blaming Trump's attack on federal workforce, which helps drive the county and the regional economies. The Youngkin administration has acknowledged layoffs of federal employees and contractors, but said this week it has only seen about 6,000 unconfirmed claims for unemployment benefits. 1,246 filed by laid-off federal employees and 4,024 by former workers at the 500 largest federal contractors operating in Virginia. Hey, but that's okay, because old grifter Glenn says that all you need to do is just look out for all those private sector jobs that are going to be making all the rounds now. You know, forget you and your pension and your government job, your old government job. Yeah, nothing like a government job. But here we have, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Everything is going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Oh, man. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Kalix asks, do you see your channel's chat or Exertus's? I see them all. I believe all of them are coming up here right now, Kalix. So thanks for the question. The administration notes that Virginia's unemployment rate at 3.5% is still well below the 4% mark that says traditionally has represented full employment. The administration said it has expanded state efforts to help affected employees find new jobs. And if you go from A- to a B-, that's not failing, said Slater. He's, like I said, the labor secretary. But we have it right here, ladies and gentlemen. We have the numbers. The national employment numbers are 4.1%. 4.1%. Virginia is now at 3.5. But hey, everything is going just fine. Because why? Because Virginia is a wonderful place to, to live, work, and raise a family. Except 4 years after I got elected, where unemployment is now up for 6 straight months. Going into the election, no less. Now, people are going to be upset with me and say, well, now, Sam, it sounds like you're a hack for the Democrats. I'm just reading you the numbers. I'm not here to sit there and play games with either side. What I'm here to do is just tell you the facts. That's why I'm the most trusted puppet in media. Reporting since Roswell, by the way. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm sure I'm going to get some kind of blowback somewhere, but that's okay. You know what? Here's what you could do. You could take your blowback with this newspaper and get it out of my face. How about that? Absolutely ridiculous. Shows that we have 65 people watching right now across the different channels and streams. We're broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. That's Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. Someone's running away says, hey, that's just what I heard as a Virginian. So it's absolutely true. But tip of the cap to everyone who is there watching us right now. Now, if you are watching, make sure you do this. Text the number 127. That's 127 to 804-430-5505. That's the number 127 to 804-430-5505. It's down there in the little ticker right there that you see going across your screen. Now, you're going to ask, well, what does that do, Sam? Well, what that does is that allows you to be a part of possibly broadcast history, where me, my little old self, and this tiny little radio show ends up becoming the best local morning radio show brought to you by the Richmond Times-Dispatch, which was that newspaper that I just threw across the screen a few moments ago. But that's what you need to do. You need to go and text 127 to 804-430-5505. You want to do that every single day from now until August the 3rd. What also you need to do is you need to grab every single phone in your house and text it from those phones, whether it be your kids, your significant other. You need to grab their phones, text that everything. Set yourself a reminder in your calendar so you don't forget. Now, I will be live tomorrow, once again, at Sam Newsman and at Exertus on YouTube to drum up the vote, the Sam the Vote-a-thon, if you will. Now, there's also another way you can go and vote. You can go vote online using your email. That's at go.richmond.com/thebest. Go.richmond.com/thebest. However, you're going to have to give some personal information, a urine sample, a stool sample, probably all that stuff. Maybe a retina scan in the process. But the easiest way to do it is just texting 127 to 804-430-5505. And once again, you will be participating in what could possibly be broadcast history with me winning best local morning radio show here in Central Virginia. How often do we do this? Before Running Away says every single day. You do it once a day, every single day, unless you grab someone else's phones. Or if you have one of those burner phones like the drug dealers have, they have a whole bunch of those. So if you know any of your drug dealing friends, make sure you tell them to text 127 on all their burner phones as well. So that way, that we can make sure that we take this thing home this year. But I do once again want to give a tip of the cap, a shout out to Exertus for allowing us to mirror these streams over on his channel as well. Make sure that you're following me all over social media. That's at Sam Newsman. All over social media is where you're going to find me. Remember, the number 127. 127 is the key to broadcast history and the key to hacking the planet, as Exertus would say. So if you want to hack the planet, you want to text the code 127. If you want to be a part of broadcast history, you want to text the code 127 to that number at the bottom of your screen right now. The number is 804-430-5505. 5505. Make sure you're listening to us on the radio as well. You don't always have to just sit there and see me. We're broadcasting live from WDCE 90.1 FM. That's a real broadcast FM radio microphone right there that you see. It's a real radio microphone. And you can also listen to us live, WDCE.org and WDCE.net. Now, Citizen Jerem coming up here in just a few moments with his Mr. Rogers segment, close out of the show. So make sure you do listen to that. It's radio only, ladies and gentlemen. So you can only hear that on WDCE 90.1 FM or WDCE.org or WDCE.net. Like I said, I'll be back tomorrow evening at 10 o'clock all over social media. That's Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X at Sam Newsman, and also Exertus. So that's well, I'm telling you, it's good. We're only a couple of days in, ladies and gentlemen, but because of the way how things have fallen, we might actually be able to take this one to the house this year. Go from third place 2 years ago, from second place to last year, to possibly first place this year. And that's with your help. I want to thank everyone once again for joining into the show. We're going to leave you like we always do with this little jingle. And make sure that, like I said, you are listening to us on WDCE.net, WDCE.org, for the final closeout of the show with Citizen Germ here in just a moment. But we all know that Game of Thrones is what they play. A house of cards just day by day. Voters losing every way. It's just like I always say. Oh, it's SideShow, Infotainment, politicians and news anchors, and talking points that make my eardrums bleed. Oh, that Donald Trump's got quite the past, with Epstein's files all up his ass. It's all a hoax. Oh, he says so fast. But the ruling class just keeps laughing last. Oh, it's SideShow, Infotainment, politicians and news anchors, and talking points that make my eardrums bleed. The most trusted puppet in media is me. Reporting since Roswell, I'm Sam Newsman.